Hey everybody, James Shepard here with another edition of the Merchant Sales Insight. Today we're talking about how to put the cash in cash discounting, putting the cash in cash discounting. And we're talking today about the relevance and the profitability of ATM machines and building a portfolio of ATM merchants. Now, this is something that may not have been on your radar screen lately, but trust me, you're going to get some interesting information here, okay? So a couple of things to cover right off the bat. Number one, in 2020, which is a year where cash was used less than in previous years, right? In 2020, 1 out of every 5 transactions was with cash. 1 in 5. And we expect that number to actually increase because after COVID, now people are going more out and about and shopping, okay? Now, that's trillions of dollars. Like that's a huge amount of cash. Where is all of this cash coming from? Where do you get cash? At the ATM machine. All of us do, right? So the ATM machines hold this really relevant, important spot in the market today because that's where we get our cash to spend, for 1 out of 5 transactions. In addition to that, you may not know that studies have shown when somebody gets cash out of a cash machine in a retail location, they are highly likely to spend at least 50%, if not 100% of that money in that retail shop. They're also much more likely to spend more money than somebody who doesn't get money out of an ATM. So there's a lot of good, statistics and all that. Definitely download the actual issue of the Merchant Sales Insight in order to get all the stats and stuff. But, they're very relevant is the point, okay? Now, how do we make money off the ATMs though? And I want to give this bigger picture, and then I'm going to break it down really quickly into 3 important questions you need to understand, okay? So how does this work? Well, we've all been to an ATM machine, so we understand the consumer experience, right? We go to the ATM, we put our card in, we pull cash out. We pay anywhere from $3 to $5, maybe $6, depending on where we're at. In this ATM machine, there's that surcharge. It varies. Nationwide, the average, I think, was $3.08 for 2021 for that surcharge. So we have this money coming in, and it's not uncommon. An area that has a lot of traffic could see 100 transactions in a day. So that's generating $300 a day in surcharge revenue, right, at a busy location. There's obviously slower locations as well. But again, there's a lot of revenue being generated. So where does this revenue go? So we're used to thinking of the merchant services industry where it's like, well, I've got my residual split. So I'm going to get my, there's a Schedule A cost, and then I'm going to get my residual split. It doesn't really work that way with ATM machines. The way it works with ATM machines is you have to answer 3 questions about that particular sale. Number 1, who owns the ATM machine? All right, who owns it? Sometimes the merchant will purchase the ATM machine themselves, or they'll lease it, right? In that case, the ISO agent, is going to make some money off of the sale of the device, of the hardware, right? And so our sponsor this week, by the way, Star Financial, I'll talk more about that in a minute, but Star Financial, they handle everything, right? So the ISO agent might say, hey, I've got this, liquor store. They've got a lot of foot traffic. I really want to put an ATM machine in there, Okay, cool. So they, get the deal done, but then Star Financial actually does all the heavy lifting. They get the equipment, they install it, they service it, all that. But you got to ask the question of who owns the ATM machine. Sometimes if it's a really busy location, Star Financial would say, hey, we'll give them an ATM machine for free. Why? Because they want to get a big chunk of that surcharge revenue, and they don't want to share very much of it with the merchant. Now, the merchant's still always going to get at least some percentage, but if they're the ones that bought the machine, they're going to get a larger percentage versus the amount that's left over. The amount that's left over after the merchant takes their cut, that gets split between the ISO or agent that referred the deal and Star Financial or whatever the ATM company is, okay? So question number 1 is, who owns the ATM? Question number 2 is, who services the ATM machine? Now, ATM machines, unlike credit card machines, they have to be serviced. They have to be loaded with more cash because the cash runs out. Paper, ink. What about, a jam? The cash jams in there. Somebody's got to go out and do that. Well, again, Star Financial handles all of that. But, sometimes the merchant will say, hey, we want to reload our own machine. If they're going to reload their own machine, well, then they're going to want a larger percentage of that surcharge revenue, right? So it's how much is the merchant going to do? What you're going to find is the vast majority of merchants don't want to do anything. Put the machine in there, give my customers the option, give me a little bit of a percentage off of the surcharge revenue. You put the terminal in, you service it, you do everything, right? And then as an ISO or agent, you can refer that business to Star Financial. They get the deal done, they install it, they do all the heavy lifting. So who owns the ATM machine, who services it? And then number 3 is who makes money from the revenue. And that's what we've been talking about here already. But again, there's 3 different people. So you have the ISO agent that got the deal done. You have Star Financial. Think of them as kind of like the super ISO would be the best way to describe it. And then you have, the merchant themselves that's going to get a small cut of it. So what I want to talk about is a couple of opportunities and why I wanted to do this particular Merchant Sales Insight. I thought it was a timely one because of a couple of trends. Number 1 on my list is, of course, cash discounting. It's a good idea to show consumers the alternative, right? So when they come in and they see the cash price and the credit price and they say, well, I don't know, maybe I want to save money on that and get that cash price. Well, let's say they're spending $50, right? Well, let's say the credit price is $52 and the cash price is $50. They're like, I'm going to pay cash. They go over to the ATM machine. They see, well, to get out $50 out of the ATM is going to cost $4. Better to just use your card and pay the extra $2, right? But either way, you're going to make some money on that transaction, right? But it kind of gives that perception. And a lot of merchants that are a little bit hesitant, that are especially as you start to go after the really big merchants that are a little bit more hesitant, like we get a lot of customers in here. I don't know if we want to do this, this dual pricing, this or cash discounting. I don't know if we want to do that. Say, well, what if we put an ATM machine in here? So that way, give people a clear choice. Look, you can get cash, you can pay cash. That's fine. It's $4, let them see that. And then some people might want to get cash, but at least you're giving them that cash option. Maybe they're going to spend a lot of money. Well, go to the ATM and get $500 out, pay $4, pay in cash, right? So giving them that option, right, is a good idea. The second trend that I think is important here is CBD, marijuana distributors, things like this. Those merchants, as we all know, they really can't accept cards most of the time, or if they can, it's very, very sketchy. It's difficult. They got the cashless ATMs and things of that nature, which even that now, the card brands and banks are really cracking down on that. And so the idea is for those businesses where they can't accept cash, or they can't accept cards, or maybe they just don't want to accept cards, right? There's always those businesses that are just like, no, we don't want to accept it. Giving them an ATM is a vital alternative to card payments. And it's something that can be very, very effective. It's a way for you to get your foot in the door. Obviously, we all agree that 3 to 5 years from now, these CBD distributors and dealers and all the, these businesses that are, marijuana related businesses, retail shops, they're all going to be able to accept payments, we believe. There's just the legislation hasn't caught up yet. Well, when they're able to accept payments, if you're the one that got the ATM machine in there, you're positioned really well to be able to do the credit card processing for them as well. Okay. One last thing real quick. I asked my friend Patty Murphy, who's my co-host on the podcast, to write a little section in this week's edition about the future of ATM, because she's really passionate about it. And I was really intrigued by all the opportunity. We might not think about this a lot, but in a lot of communities in America, the ATM machine is kind of becoming a hub for payments in general. It's where you go if you have your money direct deposited to a card. Well, you got to get some cash out for, miscellaneous expenses. You go to that ATM machine. It's where you might go to reload your card and put more money on it so you can pay a bill. It's where you might go to, reload minutes on your prepaid cell phone, right? We're seeing ATMs now that are doing currency exchange in, areas with travelers from other countries. We're seeing ATM machines that are doing cryptocurrency. You can buy and sell, Bitcoin through the ATM and exchange it for cash. And I think what's going to happen is when you think about, the next 10 years, there's still going to be a need for some kind of physical device somewhere that people can go to do things financially related, right? Even, making deposits to their account, different things like that. And the ATM machine really does serve a unique purpose, especially as we see the banks closing down locations one by one, and they have less locations. People need to be able to go somewhere to do things financially. And so when I thought about that more, I really do believe that the future of ATM is very strong when you consider the options and the things that are going to be added to these terminals, these machines over time. So if you're interested in learning more about this, check out our sponsor this week. It's Star Financial. I'm going to tag him here, in the post, but you can go to Star Financial and check them out. They have a really fantastic reseller program. Again, you can be as involved or uninvolved as you want. You can just refer merchants. They'll do all the heavy lifting, but definitely check out Star Financial. Click the link here in the post. Check them out. Reach out to Jonas. Talk to him about adding an ATM portfolio to your already profitable payments business. My name is James Shepard. Thanks for watching and listening.